Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the I'm Peaking podcast. This is episode, what's 19
21.
plus 10?
It's 21.
She was gonna do the
Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
No, I can't do it again. It's improv for a reason. I couldn't even think about it because now it's not going to sound the same. I think this is the intro. We're at episode 21. I wanted to do the meme 21, but like, but I guess I really believe I didn't know. And anyways, we are here with a special guest today, a very special organization, End Overdose. I am your host, Brin.
I'm Nand.
Mickie.
Devin. And we have...
End Overdose.
Darcy.
Theo.
Oh, yeah.
Where do we look? I don't even know.
Oh, you're right.
There
Darcy,
you
look here. Yeah. And
Amazing.
generally, you could just like look at each other when,
Okay.
unless you want to, speak directly to the audience.
Break the
Imagine
fourth
you
wall.
spoke to the camera the whole time.
Just like,
it's really a shame.
I don't know what to do. Yeah, I totally would have done. I've been like, I don't know. Someone help me.
Well, we're really happy to have you guys here. Thank you for being here. Again, this is End Overdose, and keep in mind that at the end of this episode, we will be doing a Naloxone training.
Oh,
Please stay.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah.
So stay to the end.
Stay.
And you'll learn throughout this episode why. Like, everything's about saving someone's life. That's just what it is.
Or you could just skip to the end.
If everyone's educated, then we get to a place where everyone can always act. If there's an emergency situation, everyone can act instead of looking left and right and thinking, all right, can someone do something?
Yeah. The more knowledgeable you guys are, the better chance you will
And
have.
I know this is a more like serious episode, but it's very, very important that you guys watch and listen, please.
Especially
you
in
could
our
save
community.
someone's life.
To make it clear too, especially in our community,
Yep,
because
yep.
unfortunately, in our community, a lot of people face nearly overdosing all the time.
A lot.
Because drugs are very prevalent in the rave community, and the sooner that we can recognize that we can't tell anybody what to do, but we can tell them what to do if something goes wrong. So again, tune into the end of the episode.
It's also very sexy to know what to do in tough situations.
Hot people
So
carrying
sexy.
Narcan.
Yes!
I love that shirt that you guys made.
I wear that all the time.
Yeah.
Hot girls.
That's the
Narcan.
best.
I love the switch. I'm just like over here being like all serious, and she's like, "Yeah, but hot people carry."
Yeah, it's sexy. Come on now. Be sexy.
All right. Dude, I'm serious.
Back into the third segment.
I'm done.
Can we just take a moment to acknowledge that we have End Overdose on I'm Peaking?
Yeah.
It's funny 'cause I didn't think about that
I pointed it out
until we
earlier.
walked in today. I was like, "Wait a minute."
What a collab.
We're here to bring it down, man. Yeah.
Just kick down the door.
Kick in the door. That's how it's going to lead out.
Well, thank you guys for coming today. We're super happy to have you guys here. And we have a ton of questions for you guys.
Yeah.
People are have so many questions regarding like everything.
Yeah.
With End Overdose.
Yeah, because you guys are a newer organization, right? Or at least I can only speak for my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you guys 5 years ago. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
We did not
Didn't exist.
exist 5 years
Wait,
ago.
when did you guys start up?
Yeah.
Exactly 5, right?
Yeah, like 2018, exactly 5, but it wasn't until probably 2020, 2019 that we really started to gain a lot of the traction that we did, and it's really been the last like 2 years, year and a half. When did you?
I haven't been with End Overdose working for a year, but I've been volunteering since almost the beginning, probably like 2020. I started as a volunteer. And then, it's really picked up in the last year. Ever since I started, it's like constant events, and it's been amazing growth.
Yeah.
How'd you guys get involved originally?
Yeah, I mean, originally for me, like this story of like how it all came to be is like when I was 13 years old, I broke my leg and I got addicted to prescription Oxycontin.
Oh.
So have you guys ever heard of Purdue Pharma before?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
I have.
Okay, perfect. So they were the drug manufacturers of a prescription drug called Oxycontin. It was basically just like prescribed heroin. Broke my leg and got prescribed like 80 milligram Oxycontins as a 13-year-old.
Jesus.
Which is
As a
pretty
13-year-old.
insane with like free refills. They're like, just fucking
Yeah.
take it.
So young too.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I mean, part of the reason why that drug was so dangerous, or it was very misleading. They marketed it as a non-addictive opioid solution. They said, hey, it'll take your pain away. Don't worry, nothing bad will happen. And I was probably on that for 6 months until I got into high school, and then started using heroin right away.
Wow.
And so that started a cycle for me. I eventually came out to California to get sober. I lost my fiance from a drug overdose when I was out here. And I lost a lot of people that were really close to me as I was going through that process.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I became a paramedic and really started to see how easy it is to use like naloxone and respond to a lot of drug emergencies that I thought it was so strange that certain areas in our life don't have those things, right? Part of it, and I'll bring it up just because it's like in kind of like this setting, right, is not only in like drug treatment centers and sober livings where these like naloxone wasn't made available, but like as part of a culture, if you're someone that uses recreationally, like a great analogy that I'll use is like people smoking weed, right? Like if you've ever smoked weed before, the first thing that happens is someone teaches you how to do it. You smoke out of like an apple or a can, and like you work your progression up, right?
How to move your thumb, get the airflow.
Like so, but part of that process, there's something that's lost in all that. Whether you're, like a med student or a doctor that uses like mushrooms on the weekend, is the safety aspect of it, right? Which is just as simple as just like, hey man, what do you do when it all goes wrong, right? Like we're not here to tell you to do anything. We're not here to moralize this. This is just the other side that like we're missing, right?
Yeah.
And as a paramedic, I experienced so much death on a regular basis. I eventually, I really just wanted to help people and impact their life. I became a LA City fireman, and I work in MacArthur Park, which is one of the most affected areas in our city, in Los Angeles. And with End Overdose, what we've really tried to do is make it we're not trying to tell you to do anything. We just want you to see it in the places that you would go out, that it would just be a normal function of your day-to-day, your going out process, right? Have it in the aspects of society that we really need to have this, and make it as easy as a click of a button, or you're at a festival or you're at a show and you can just have it, right? Yeah. It's not like a big thing. It's not like crazy. It's like part of your going out plan, right? So
it's like part of your kit.
It's like part of your kit.
Yeah. It's like your festival, part of your festival kit.
Yeah, put it in there.
Yeah.
Phone, keys, wallet, naloxone.
Yeah, I always make sure that I have one every time I go to a festival. Yeah, it's always in my bag.
Water.
Yes.
Keys, right? And so there's like lots of different things, right? Now we focus on naloxone, fentanyl test strips, but there are many drug emergencies that we're bridging into. And that's one portion of what we do. We also work with schools, education systems, drug treatment centers.
Aren't you guys partnered with like some colleges?
We are. So we have,
really cool.
right now I think we have 13 or 15 college chapters
Cool.
that we formed in the last year. Yeah, they're awesome. I like every single one of our college chapter presidents are amazing. They do amazing work. Everyone in their group does amazing work. We brought, how many did we bring to EDC? Like 48?
Yeah, we had about a team of 50, mostly of college students at EDC.
That's actually really cool.
And it was super cool. We had people from like Alabama, Florida, like all these different college chapters coming together to work on it. So we gave out 10,000 doses in 3 days. And right now we're on track to hopefully give out 100,000 this year. So
honestly, it's really possible. You guys are going to do that so
Absolutely.
fast. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Though I really wish something like you guys existed when I was in college, because like I know that's, at least for me personally, that's like when I got into, I guess, that side of partying. And but I always tell the story of the person who kind of, I guess, administered like my first session of pre-workout was at like my school. We had a Sun God festival at UCSD, which is like our big festival that year. And the way he did it was like he like gave me like full instructions, like, okay, like don't take this like at this time. He gave me like melatonin, and he gave me like 5 HTPs, like take this like 24 to 48 hours after.
Is this
It's a habit at this point.
Sorry.
Pre-workout is what we call anything in the
Party favors.
Party favors.
Shit, I'm like,
we just call it pre-workout.
I was like, this sounds like some stuff that we can't say in the podcast.
Caught on to that.
Yeah. So okay.
Pre-workout party favors.
Now we're establishing language. Viewers at home.
Code word. Yeah. But anyways, he like instilled with me when I first did this. It was just like the mantra that I believe in is like, there is a responsible way to do everything irresponsible.
Absolutely.
And I think that definitely holds true. I mean, I think there are obviously, I don't think it's with everything, but I think with most things, like especially with party favors, that you can apply that. And so it's really cool like, what you guys are doing.
Because personally, like I stopped doing party favors like 3-4 years ago. Like, I mean, because I started raving in like 2016. Obviously I did. I was a baby raver, didn't know what was happening. And then I just eventually stopped because just for me personally and mentally, I wasn't in a good place. And I just quit it altogether. So I'm really happy to see you guys like prosper in like EDM festivals because we need you guys there.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also cool too because I can only think about similar organizations like yourselves that I dealt with growing up, like D.A.R.E. Like they did not do it right because that definitely pushed people in the opposite direction.
Yeah, like abstinence teaching sort of thing.
Whereas, like, here's the thing. I'm a firm believer of this. You can't tell anybody what to do. You can just tell them, here's how you can prepare for the worst if it comes to that. Yeah. So, like, when you guys showed up or when End Overdose appeared, I was like, this is exactly what the rave community needs. Because, like, I speak from my own experiences. Like, I tend to act as the rave dad and take care of my friends. But there's always that one who chooses to, I'm going to go in and irresponsibly, like, have a good time knowing that there's a friend who's going to take care of me. I'm like, I'm not a med student. Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I don't even know how to use Naloxone yet. Sure. Like, I know how to, like, keep you
or get help. And get help. But that's
exactly.
it.
No, the number of times I take people to the medical tent because that's all I know how to do at the time.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a rave dad.
Yeah.
I need
how
one.
did you get started in like End Overdose?
Yeah, well, I started just a bit about me. I grew up in LA and I went to UCLA. I just graduated last year.
Oh, congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, about a year out. And really it all kind of intersected in a funny, coincidental way. And, I started kind of going to raves around 2019. My first experience was like a Chris Lake and Fisher back to back. And I was like, I love this place.
Nice.
That's good. I was so I fell in love with EDM, but then I started to realize that people were sometimes using irresponsibly, and those that were, I got really worried about that. And I, through a friend, found out about End Overdose actually in like a super random way. I'm from Pasadena, and that's where our headquarters are.
Nice.
And I wanted to be at the time, kind of still now, a psychiatrist. So I studied psychobiology. Really interested in mental health and intersectionality of substance use. And then I started volunteering and started doing nonprofit work with End Overdose. It just kind of was what I liked to do at the time. And, I was seeing people using drugs. And then I started kind of giving fentanyl test strips to friends of mine and seeing a lot of test strips coming up positive. And I was like, wow, this is like real life work that I'm doing, and actually seeing people lives like saved
100%.
Through just being a volunteer, like packing kits, but also giving it to my community. And then I got a bit more heavily involved in dance music, and over time he kind of saw that I loved events and invited me to kind of work and make sure people are seeing our mission in the event space, which is one of the best ways to get our mission message across. So yeah, I just now for about almost a year, 9 months, I've been curating events and making sure that people get the resources they need. Yeah. Again, we're neutral, non-biased. If people want to use drugs, they shouldn't have to pay with their life for making a personal decision.
Agree. Yeah,
I agree with that.
So no matter what people decide to do, I just want to make sure no one dies from something as frivolous as like a personal party choice one night.
Yeah. Why do you think that there's been a phenomenon of the rise of like fentanyl in like substances right now? Like, have you guys investigated that?
That's always the question.
Yeah, because obviously there's been so many deaths recently because like people don't know if that, isn't it like a little speck of fentanyl could just like kill you like that?
2 milligrams of fentanyl, which is very small. My understanding is that it's kind of about potency, and my understanding is essentially you can make your product a lot more potent and use less of your product by putting in a bit of fentanyl. So we're seeing it in things like cocaine, ketamine, even marijuana these days. And a question I get asked a lot, like at festivals, I'm like, hey, have you ever heard of Naloxone? Would you like to learn how to use it? They're like, I don't use drugs. I don't have friends that I don't use opioids. I don't use Percocet. Why do I need to know about Narcan or Naloxone? And I'm like, well, unfortunately, it's getting in everything these days.
Misconception.
To make product a bit more potent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weed
Give
we
anything
hear.
to exactly.
Yeah, I
Crazy.
mean, weed, it's like, it comes in there. Usually it's like when it's broken up. So usually it's like mixed in with something.
like an accident.
Yeah, it's like in there, but it's not like you're going to a dispensary and like they're coating it. It's usually like mixed in. Someone's passing around like a blunt, and then there's something mixed into it, and that thing has it. They smoke it, and then they have like that type of issue. At least that's where we've gotten it reported to us.
Yeah.
We have like anonymous reporting process that people can do. So we monitor that. We don't do a lot of alerts because at this point it's kind of prevalent, but there was actually a really good book written in 2019 called Fentanyl Incorporated, where an investigative journalist goes to China and basically buys fentanyl and like gets it over on a container and does all this. And the reality is it's just it's a synthetically made drug. So you don't need a lab, you don't need you do need a lab, you don't need poppy fields, right? So where heroin, you needed like, you know, a massive like poppy field, you needed all this agriculture, you don't need any of that anymore, right? And so the potency is higher, like Darcy was saying. It's more prevalent. You can mix it into different things. And a lot of it is coming off of the back of like the Oxycontin epidemic, where people got really conditioned to taking pills, right? Now you can make like a pressed pill. You can make something that models that, and it's a lot easier to sell because, hey, you know, slamming heroin, yikes, popping a pill, you know, and it's just being mixed in everything.
It's like not looked at as serious.
Yeah.
You know, so it's easier for people to fall into
It's basically like a for-profit thing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And like this is also, you know, drugs go through cycles and progressions, right?
Yeah.
Like we've had regular drug emergencies throughout the decades, right?
Yeah.
And what's affecting us early in this decade or early in the was Oxycontin. Now it's just kind of like leveled into a place where we're seeing fentanyl. Meth is still a huge problem right now.
My hometown.
Yeah. So it's just the nature of like kind of these progressive cycles. And one of the things that we can do first is just all agree on something. And I think everyone can agree on the idea of like, hey, you accidentally overdosing from something that's preventable when we have the tools to save you. We can all agree that we don't want that to happen, right? So let's start there and focus on bringing everyone together and getting them the resource. Really easily.
100%.
I know, Darcy, you explained, or you were speaking about fentanyl test strips. For the viewers at home, can you kind of explain the process of testing your substances using the fentanyl test strips? I know a lot of people have like a misconception of like, you know, just like using, putting a little bit of the pill and then can you just elaborate that?
Totally. So the number one thing I recommend for people when we give out fentanyl test strips, we have a QR code on the back of every single one. So please scan the QR code for the directions. That's what I always say. Because again, with the like friends of mine, I know people are just like either, you know, just not, it's hard to get the concentration right without reading the instructions that we put on the QR code. But essentially you need to get, you know, your concentration of powdered substance right with water, and it depends on the substance as well. Like you're going to need a different amount of water if you're testing cocaine versus MDMA, and that's something that you would only know if you scan the QR code. And, but there are ways. It's not as complicated. Like I think in the instructions there's a really good way to use a bottle cap, which is really like most people have water bottles at festivals, so there's like a really good reference with like a penny if you don't have a scooper. Sometimes there's scoopers in them, sometimes there's not. And
we give out scoopers in every single one of ours just to make sure.
Fentanyl test strips in general, because someone might get one without a scooper in it if you're not getting it from us. But okay, from us, you get a perfect scooper of how much of your powder. You're going to put it in water. Make sure it's, you know, mixed really well, and then you'll get the test strip and make sure you hold it on the right side. Definitely sometimes there's like a little finger diagram. Stick it in, I think, until the water titrates up the stick a bit, and then wait 2.5 minutes. And then you'll get a positive, a negative, or a it didn't work. So that's kind of how I would describe that.
Yeah, we should have brought one. Like the best way to like essentially like we have this little 10 milligram scooper that, because if you've ever tried to eyeball 10 milligrams, good luck. Yeah, right? Like without a visual aid, like good luck, right? So that's really specific, and they're super easy to use. Just like Darcy saying, you literally dip the test strip into water, and then 2 lines is a negative, 1 line is a positive, right? So it's like as easy as that.
It's almost like a COVID test.
It's almost like a COVID test, only, you know, not at all.
Yeah. Just we the lines.
Yeah, but I will say, like, for people at home, I know that it can be confusing. Like, some people will be like, oh, so you're supposed to test your whole pill or your whole amount, because you know, there might be, unfortunately, a little flake of fentanyl in part of it and not in the whole thing.
Is it actually like mixed in, or is it in certain parts of the pill?
Yeah,
it's hard to say. It can be in parts, and there's something called like the chocolate chip cookie effect, in which like fentanyl could, like, imagine a bag or a pill, maybe little specks of fentanyl here, so you test a little bit and you're like, oh, I'm good to go. And not necessarily true. So there are, you know, I would say it's always good to test. Please, like, if you're doing something, again, we want to make it part of the culture. If you're making this choice, test your stuff. But there's better ways to test it, like testing your entire amount or not.
Yeah. Wow.
To do it perfectly, you got to test the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think just test the whole thing, you guys.
Which would mean, dissolving it all.
It's all dissolved.
I guess you're
I
drinking
don't know
that's kind of like that's where like the trouble with fentanyl test strips and some of the testing products that we have right now are at. For you to do it perfectly, you would have to take your entire bag, dissolve it into water, test the whole thing, reheat it, and dry it out. Most people aren't going to do that. It's totally
because if you have something
impractical.
like cocaine, no one's going to do that. Like,
Why would you?
And so
I was about to say, if it was like MDMA, I feel like some people would just drink it if it's safe.
So some
you can
people
definitely
drink it and things like that. But like the reality is that the sentiment of you taking the time to like identify whether or not it's in there, like if you get a positive result, you just saved your own life.
Yeah.
Right. And that you can't disregard at all. So it's not perfect yet, but it's an amazing tool that we have now. And it's something that should just be as common. And they're like a couple cents, like pull it out, test it. All right. You expected to get one thing and then it's completely different. Like, okay. Like,
I'm just so appreciative of how easily accessible the test strips are now and how easy it's been made. Cause I can say like, I don't know, 2016, 17, when I first purchased a test kit, it's one of those big ones that's like, this one tests for this one tests for that. And then there's like 10 different bottles. I'm going to be honest, I only used that once because the concept of trying to figure out how to use all of this just didn't.
And those are like $50.
Oh yeah, no, it was like $50 too.
Yeah, reagent tests are amazing. They're they're colorimetric, but again, like just trying to make those like testing supplies more and more practical. Like in Europe, you can go. They have a spectrometer. It's gas based, and they can you can like put it in. It'll tell you exactly what's in there.
Oh, that's cool.
You can like see the formula of the drug that they have.
That's cool.
But we just don't have that type of infrastructure yet, and that's okay. Like we're getting there. Like we're adding these things, and it'll eventually get better. But like reagent testing is awesome. There's a company called Dose Test that makes awesome reagent tests. Bunk Police make awesome stuff. Like
Bunk Police.
Yeah, they're cool.
That name.
Yeah, it's fun. So. Yeah, they do a lot of good stuff.
What I really like about you guys too is the way you make your videos on social media because it's so entertaining.
It's engaging.
But at the same time, they're getting the education.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who edits your videos?
Like,
because
it's shout out so
Zed.
good.
Yo, Zed, shout out to you. What?
She thought she said Zed.
No, no, that's my joke.
I'm doing a play on words.
I heard Zed.
I heard that too. I just kind of like went with it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I just remember like your video just came up and I was like, oh my god, I freaking love this because like one, it gets your attention right away. Like, because sometimes like educational things they become kind of redundant and kind of boring. People just like swipe. But once I saw yours, I was like, ooh, what's this?
Especially in this age where everyone has a
short attention span of a mouse. So short.
It's
I mean, everyone's like. I mean, I would say that for all of us, like if you see something boring, it's boring.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way around it.
Sorry.
And like health as a whole has done a pretty poor job of like engagement. They've just been like, this is important. And it's like,
okay.
but is it, right? Like, and so like in an environment like that, you have to really work for people's attention. And like, we don't skimp on that. We think your time is valuable and we want you to hear our information.
I love that.
So we're not going to just like tell you it's important and then give you something that is really
sometimes
boring.
It feels like a lecture too, you know?
No one likes
but
that.
like if you're talking to me like a friend and like, hey, like I really care about you, then I'm like, okay.
And people are more open to listen to that.
Yeah, and the production value too. You're looking at this and you're like, wow, a lot of work went into this.
Yeah.
Like this looks cool, and everything's quick. It like gives you all the information right away. So.
Yeah, we that's our videographer Zed. She runs a company called Rule of Thirds, and he is awesome. He is super awesome.
Kudos to you guys.
We never want to lose him.
No, the best.
That's
He's
awesome.
the best. Yeah.
He came along to EDC with us and made some of that amazing content you saw with Cami. Yeah, it's just really so engaging. So thankful for him, because you're right. Like, we can't get this message across to people on social media without it.
Also, Cami, who couldn't be here, Cami Pettin, awesome. She's an artist. She makes music. She's a grunge rocker. She's also amazing at our content. Like,
is she the one on the camera?
Yeah.
Oh,
she's the best.
I love her.
Yeah, she's
awesome.
the best. So she couldn't be here. She's in New York, but she's a huge reason of why we have like the social media following that we do. Like, she had literally found us for like kind of like an interview. She came to our office. And she literally made our TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, we had a TikTok, we were like, I don't know. And then she was just basically like, you guys could be way better than this.
She knew what she was doing.
And she like kicked in the door.
She's amazing.
This actually leads into a question, because you just mentioned that she's an artist. What are some ways that DJs and artists and the people in our community who have, a higher status, unlike, us who are just ravers, who are just on the ground having a good time, what are some things that you think they could do to help with, harm reduction and overdose prevention and whatnot?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the biggest thing for us is like, if I get into a room, you're not going to know who I am, which is fine. I don't need anybody to know that. But somebody that has like that platform that people really identify with, that they love their art, they love their craft. When they say, hey, this is important, people follow up and they listen, right? And you can't, like, when someone donates their time and their platform to carry a message because they believe in it, it's worth more than anyone could ever donate to us.
Yeah.
And like, for example, right now we're working with Nick Alinium, who's on tour right now.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
And
You guys were there.
yeah, and what he's doing is he's decided to bring Naloxone on his tour. And like, that's amazing, because what he's doing is he's one of the first artists that are really making sure that that's coming along with him and is making it part of that experience and part of the community. And I can't express into words how grateful we are for that type of stuff.
Especially with a big name like that.
And also what it does for everybody, right? Everybody benefits from that. So anytime like if there's an artist listening or someone who sees it, like, we need you. We really do, right? We need you more than you might think.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it gets the industry too used to like, oh, okay, if he's doing it, maybe I should start doing it on my tour.
Yeah. And I think it also means a lot because, he's been open with how he was addicted and then he stopped. And it's just a really big part of his story. So the fact that like he and you guys partnered up, it's like, it's big. It's pretty big.
He's also a certified Naloxone trainer now.
Awesome.
Yeah, he went on IG Live with Theo to essentially give like a training to his followers,
cool.
which was
awesome.
So amazing. And then we're so grateful for him to allow us to go on tour. So from now until all the rest of his tour in the US, we'll have an End Overdose representative with him on tour, doing a booth, doing Naloxone trainings for anyone that wants to come by and grab some to be safe.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
are you guys only... Oh, sorry, you could go.
Oh, yeah. No, you first.
Oh, I was just asking, like, because you just said only in the US. Like, are you guys only based here, or do you want to branch out to, like, different countries soon?
What do you think?
I mean... Yeah.
No, we want to stay only in the US. We don't care about Americans.
World domination.
Dominate.
No, we really want to get into Europe. We've actually have a ton of people reach out to us all the time from like Germany, Ireland, and they're like, oh my God, like I really want this. The problem is international pharmacy laws.
Right.
So you can't just like ship Naloxone to like Germany. They have different laws, they have different rules. Navigating the legal structure on that and then creating like a foothold in those spaces, and also knowing the areas, right? Like if there's harm reduction groups that are there, we don't want to just like show up and be like, what's up? We don't know your
territory.
So it's something that we're working towards, but it's something that is going to take us a lot of time.
Yeah, because how about like working with the festivals out there? I know, there's like a lot of festivals out there, and like ADE festivals. Amsterdam, and it's like also a conference. Within this conference, they hold panels, and I feel like something like that would be a great way to kind of like jump in like Europe, because a panel you'd be able to like actually speak with people rather than having a booth out there.
For sure, Europe has very robust harm reduction though.
That's what I was gonna say. I think one of the leading festivals like in harm reduction is, I believe, Boom Festival, and it's almost like I don't want to compare it to a Burning Man, but it's very open, I think they were one of the first to bring harm reduction to like the festival, testing drugs in the festival, allowing it's one of the places where it's decriminalization of drug use. So they're for sure. And then there's like safe injection sites that are really common. And like
I've heard about those.
So not saying that you can't always expand and help new communities that need it, but they're leading in harm reduction for sure.
For sure.
I know Canada also is they're like pretty big on the harm reduction side as well, from what I hear.
I believe they do drug testing outside of Shambhala Festival, which is really admirable. So cool.
Yeah.
Is there a festival here that does that? I know they stopped.
Not yet.
They used to do it like back then. Like I think when EDC was here in LA, they used to have like the actual booths where you could test your stuff.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
They sometimes like organizations will set up, like there's an organization called Dance Safe that's really big. They're like totally focused on testing. And, some of the things that are just difficult though, from like a production side, from a festival side, is like the legal framework of that. Right. And what happens when you test something, it's positive, someone takes it anyway. It's like there's not an insurance company on the planet that you can navigate that with.
Yeah.
So it's been like the biggest, one of the hugest things for us was when Insomniac and Basquel allowed us to come in.
Yeah.
Right?
That was a big thing.
That was huge.
That's like
huge.
what they've done for like our community is massive. Like there's no understatement. It's at EDC, we gave out 10,000 doses, and it was a direct result of their willingness to work with us and really their sentiment that they wanted to keep their community safe.
This is a slightly hot take, but you know how in one of our previous episodes we talked about how like it's weird that Insomniac tried to copyright Plur?
Oh.
I totally think Pascal deserves it. With what he's doing, with how he's trying to take care of our community, I think he deserves it.
It might have not been him. Like these organizations are massive, right? Like there's different levels to that, right? And I think it's easy to look at an organization, forget about the people that behind it, but as something grows, it grows in a way where there are different aspects you can't control. And at least from our side and like the experiences that we've had, they have made it a forefront of their objective to make sure that they can keep their patrons and community safe and offer, we reached 1 million people through that. There's not a better area on the face of the planet that you could do that level of outreach.
Yeah. Just allowing us to be at EDC, both in the camp and in the Speedway, we, reached 500,000 people over the course of the weekend. That's huge. It's been amazing. So how did you guys even come together to start doing this? How did you meet each other?
So I met Devin like roughly 5 years ago, back in 2019. We've told the story too many times.
Tried to scam me.
Dude, why do you have to say that? Why do you have to tell him like that every single time?
Let me, before you continue though, I went to school for film. And so when I graduated college, I wanted to get into just creating content, and I've always been an avid watcher of like YouTube, and just followed like a lot of YouTubers like journeys, and it kind of just became something that I wanted to do. So I started making content right out of college, and then I met Nand probably about 2019. Yeah, so 2 years after I graduated, and Nan, if you want to tell the rest of the story.
As long as you stop saying I tried to scam you, it's kind of
a joke.
You have to elaborate on that
now. It's a joke you've made for years. I'm over it. Long story short, I was working for admin for like this social media company. It was 2019 was around the time people were really getting into content, social media, Instagram, TikTok, all that. And I was working admin because I needed a job. And obviously one of the jobs you have to do in admin is outreach. So he reached out to us because someone else who was in that company was like, yo,
I met him.
Come through. So we had a Zoom call. During that Zoom call, I did a very terrible job because I didn't believe in what they were doing there, to be perfectly honest. And then he and I just hit it off during that Zoom call of like, oh, rave community and like EDM stuff. Yeah. And then like, I don't know, like 6 months later, he asked me, hey, do you want to come shoot a video? I'm like, I'm down.
Yeah.
That's how he gets you. He did that to me. He DM'd me. He was like, "Do you want to come shoot a video?"
You DM'd me.
It's on chain reaction.
But to put it very, very simply, there was a like-minded feeling of like, hey, we want to do the same stuff in regards to making content. And then we started hanging out, shooting content. Pandemic happened, so there was a lot of time to shoot content together. And then after pandemic happened, we started going to festivals together. And then that's when we met Brin at the gym, or they met at the gym.
Brin and I met on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then
TikTok brought us together.
And
then we all met on TikTok.
And then I messaged Brin on Instagram.
And then I invited him to the gym because there's like a gym out here that was like red and blue lights. It was like a rave style gym.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm like, come on by. Like, you make rave content. It's like a rave style gym, you know?
Yeah.
And then he ended up getting a membership there. And then since we just like started getting close.
Gym bros, I love that.
I was
for
the
reals.
last one of the group to become a content creator.
Yeah, I was bugging Mickie in the DMs. I was like,
she thought I ghosted her.
She did.
Yeah,
She'd
I
be
was
like,
like,
hey, Mickie hasn't responded. I don't think she wants to be friends with us.
Yeah.
Like, just message her
I just
again.
wanted to
She's
be
a
her
student.
friend.
She's busy.
2 days goes by and he's like, man, she hates me.
2 days, try 30 minutes.
it's
Yeah,
just
she
like,
hates
oh,
me.
yeah.
I just want to point out real quick though, when Nand and I first became friends and Nand like pitched the company to me and joining, I just love saying this. I
hate when you tell this story.
I basically just said, I'm like, I don't know if it's for me, but if you want to join us on one of our rave skits sometime.
Yeah.
But
I hate this story
I owe
so
a lot
much.
to Nand though, because there was like a skit that we did maybe like a year after that time that we met, and Nand literally drove all the way from Santa Monica to Brea where I was shooting just to drop off his bag of rave stuff for me to use.
Was it peak traffic? Because that's a day trip.
I had to go to a bartending job immediately after.
Wow.
And he couldn't even be part of the skit, and the fact that he drove all the way out there was like that was like the first time where I was like, yo, this guy is sick. He literally just came to drop off all his stuff for me to use.
Knowing that, do you think I would intentionally try to scam you?
Yeah, that's
It's
your way
a
of saying I'm
joke.
sorry. That's your way.
It's a joke.
And I owe a lot to Devin because I didn't know like the whole style of content creating. Like when he invited me over to make a video with him, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean make a video with you? Because the way my content worked was like I would just, any video footage that I would have, I just throw text on it and call it content. And it worked with me for quite some time. But then after like spending time with Devin and then seeing how he worked with Nand and how like they all had a camera set up, and they would even have people like work as background actors, and then they would like have a ring light. I didn't even own a ring light at the time. And then they show me camera angles, like big thanks, to the guys for like teaching me that.
Brin became a cinematographer.
Your skill has advanced a lot since then. Let me tell you that.
Thanks.
Yeah, but we all come a long way, and we can all obviously definitely bond over the fact that we're all ravers and we've all been in the scene for a little while, and so I think no one else, when we decided to make this, I think it was mostly just because like we didn't really feel, I mean, other people have rave podcasts as well. But we figured no one is really doing it with like a live podcast with multiple people, having lots of guests regularly. So we wanted to kind of be one of the first to do that.
For me too, because I remember I was trying to start a podcast with Devin before we had met Mickie, and when we had just met Brin. So for me too, as well as like I wanted to like talk more about the festival circuit as a whole, have a real conversation about what raving's about. Because once upon a time, I tell someone I'm a raver, they're like, "Oh, you rave? Like, so you do drugs?" No, that's not at all what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or the ugliness of like corporate jobs. If they find out you rave, they're like, "Nah, you can't. You can't do
you have to
that."
hide that.
Exactly. So like, I'm big on like being able to bring light on everything there is about festival circuits, the good, the bad, the underbelly. As we know, there is a heavy drug culture, and unfortunately there is an epidemic with fentanyl overdose and whatnot. So conversations like this are the ones that I want to have, because I mean, since we are in a place where we do have a voice where at least 3 people listen, that's 3 people I can tell this story to, who might tell 3 more people, who might tell 3 more people. And I do my best with what we do with the content, where we like make funny skits, try to make it entertaining. But of course, there's always the people who are like, "Oh, if you talk about drugs in any way, shape, or form, even if it is like harm reduction, drug prevention, etc." Now they're like, "Oh, you're glorifying the use of drugs." It's like,
or condoning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if we make content, like I frequently make content in the niche of Rave Dad, where I'm like taking care of someone who is already like, under the influence of something heavily. But now that's condoning or glorifying because someone in the video is under the influence.
Yeah.
But with this podcast, it makes it really easy to be able to like communicate like bigger, real messages like, look, like be safe.
Yeah. Because I did a video like for you guys to like, help spread awareness for Naloxone and everything. And although it was like a good video to keep people educated, I still got those comments being like, well, don't do it. Like, why would you do drugs anyway? Just don't do it.
Yeah.
You can't really, I know everyone's a responsible
Social
adult.
media, man.
Yeah, everyone's a responsible adult. You make your own decisions. You do whatever you want. But the least we can do is educate you on how to be safe.
Yeah, I always include my links like whenever I do videos, and on like at least like my link tree or whatever it is, I always have like a bunch of resources, but I'll get I literally got a comment from someone one time that was like, they were telling me that I was a crackhead and I need to go to rehab, and that they wanted to see me begging on the street. And they wanted to see me.
There's a lot to unpack there.
So I've gotten some very aggressive comments before, but usually when that happens, I'm like, well, the video reached that side of Instagram. it's trending.
Yeah, the internet.
Yeah, that's a really good topic. We definitely get that. The comments on our Instagram, not. Actually, like, I'm really happy with the overwhelming support that we've gotten from people, and like lots like overwhelming support. But oftentimes when we collaborate with like rave brands, I feel like there's always or like artists or DJs.
TikTokers.
We recently collaborated with Hades. She's amazing.
Ooh,
and
I love
like one
her.
of my favorites, the best. And she like screenshotted one of the comments and she was like, what the heck? Like, I'm so happy I did this, but I can't believe that there's people like on my personal page,
the audacity,
like commenting, don't like, why, like, don't do drugs. Like, if you're gonna do drugs, then you need to like be okay with the consequences. And that's like,
wow.
Yeah. But it happens often, and you know what we say to that is, you know, we care about our community, and even if you don't do drugs, we would hope that hopefully you would just want to carry naloxone in case someone does make that personal decision.
Yeah. I think a lot of those people have just grown up on this like super extreme side of, you know, the apps. What did you call it again?
Yeah, like abstinence teaching.
Yeah, abstinence teaching. And so I think that like they're so ingrained in their own foundation of knowledge on the topic that they have to like, they feel the need to press it onto other people.
Yeah.
When I feel like at the end of the day, like, again, if you are just responsible about stuff and you take the necessary precautions, then there are ways that you can do it safely. But
what are you guys' thoughts on like the comedy videos that we like a lot of us make about, like, you know, it's incorporated in our culture, but like we make it funny
and be brutally honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really have a thought on it. Like, what we try and do as an organization is we really just try and stay in our lane, right? So we actually we have it written down. We have a tradition, which is basically like End Overdose as a whole tries to stay out of all public controversy. So you'll never hear us as an organization make comments on that. You'll never hear us like really draw like political decisions or anything like that, because where we really feel that we all need to come together and where everyone can kind of come together is like, hey man, like people are dying that don't need to. And that's happening right now. That's literally happening right now. So you can't go to that and moralize that and be like, is it right that they're dying or wrong that they're dying? You just need to help them, right? Like as a paramedic, I would never go to you in a situation where you're having a heart attack and be like, hey man, I don't know if it's cool that you're having that heart attack. I'm going to just save your life. So like we try and bring that forward right now, which is people need these resources. They need this service and we have it. So let's make it available.
Priorities,
to them.
man.
One question I had that kind of connects, so hopefully it all connects, is what are some of the struggles and obstacles you've had trying to do this, considering like, you know, festivals, for example, I can only speak from people that I've taken to the medical tent, and they're just like, no, I can't. They're going to arrest me. And they're freaking out the whole time. But like, you know, everything we're talking about is a prevention of loss of life due to the, you know, the act of an illegal substance.
Yeah.
So that being said, how have you been able to get past or, you know, work with, say, I don't know, law enforcement or the legalities of things to be able to do what you guys are doing, spreading the positive, like, let's not die.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's on board with it, right? Like nobody wants anybody to die anywhere, right? And like a lot of these organizations have like really layered, they have medics, they have awareness groups, they have staff, they have security, and it's really just making that a cohesive thing. Like many organizations already have layers. We're just adding that extra piece and component, right? We're just allowing the community to really have it too, right? Because, you know, you have 10,000 people in a place, you can't keep track of everybody. So we have to, as a community, come together and like not just pass that person that's unconscious or be like, oh, that's not my problem, right? Because no one's going to get you in trouble if you're like, I saw that guy unconscious. Can we help him? Like, that's a good thing. Like, we should totally do that.
Yeah, because last year at EDC, I was at Base Pod, and suddenly I see someone just like laying on the floor. And in my head, I was like, is he just like taking a break, or is he unconscious right now? Even like his friend was just like, oh no, he's fine. And then the medical people came and they were trying to wake him up. But what pissed me off was that his friend just kept saying to them, he's fine, just leave him alone. Wow. And I was just like, obviously they already had professionals there, and I was like, if that was my friend, I would be there to help them. Like, you don't just say, oh, he's fine. He just like, he just took a little too much. He'll be fine. Yeah. But he wasn't waking up. And so I saw them, obviously put something in his nose. It was naloxone. I don't know what happened after that. They just like took him away. So that like really scared me and scarred me.
Yeah, I've definitely seen firsthand a lot of those situations, but that's why in our training, every single person we talk to, we definitely emphasize the Good Samaritan law, which is, there's, one version of it in every state, and it's just like, don't be afraid to call 911, even if they have taken something, even if, you even have a small amount of substance on you, if you're acting in good faith to save somebody's life, you are protected like by the law. Nice. And that's really to encourage people to call 911, even if like you're afraid or you think something's gonna happen. You're saving someone's life.
And that's something not a lot of people know. So like, seriously,
that's actually thank you for bringing that up too, because like I've talked about the Good Samaritan law a few times, but since it's different within every state, I can't really like end all be all, this is the Good Samaritan law, but that's good to note as well, because it's definitely something I feel like us as well as our podcast and individuals, that's something we could spread more too, because I'm always scared of like exactly what you were mentioning. There could be someone who needs help, but everyone is too scared to give them the help that they need.
It's the negligence, just like not doing anything.
I think it's just fear driven that I mean, I get it, it's scary, but at the same time,
it's someone's life.
I mean, it's also, and just to play devil's advocate, I always recognize younger ravers, little children. They're scared. They're legitimately scared of getting arrested. But that's why we need to, show and educate and be like, yo, just, you're not going to get in trouble. Like, you're doing a good thing here.
Can we explain exactly what the Good Samaritan law is?
She just did.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to go take it into more depth than I did?
Yeah, I mean, you basically said it. It's the same in every single state. The one piece that's always consistent is that as long, like, if you're rendering medical aid in good faith, even if you do it wrong, you're not going to be held civilly, like, liable, right? So it's not going to protect you in every state from, like, additional things. So, like, if you, for example, were... you had drugs on you, that's going to vary from state to state based off the paraphernalia laws. But as far as like you rendering medical aid, even if you do it wrong, you're like, I don't know how to do CPR, I don't want to do it because I don't want to do it wrong. We don't like do it, just act, right? So that's huge. That should encourage everybody to, engage. The train's here. Right?
Yeah, but I like what you guys were saying. I think a lot of it of people not acting is like the bystander effect. You kind of think someone else is going to do it. Also, like fear is huge, right? You are scared. But that's definitely why our work, like I am so passionate about what I do, because if we can equip everyone with like the confidence, at least to like, oh, that guy's unconscious, I know the opioid overdose triad to see if they might be having an overdose. That's something we teach in our, training, pinpoint people's respiratory depression, loss of consciousness. If they can just even do that, and we are giving people the knowledge and confidence to just help maybe recognize symptoms, that's huge for our community, because then we'll have less people scared, even if they're baby ravers.
I saw this video on TikTok of she's also like a smaller content creator, but she works in the festival space, and she was talking about how like someone took naloxone thinking that it would like counteract the drug before he took it, and she was like, that's not how it works. But there are people who like think that
it's just an education thing. Like, and that's part of the reason like we do this type of stuff, right? And it's just an example of how there's such a lack of education, and there's really a gap to be filled, right? And that's like coming onto platforms like your own, thank you for having us, where we can, reach a different audience, reach different people, and just share information that could save someone's life. Because that's really what it's all about, right? We're one large community. Everybody's trying to work on this together, and like, we can't do it alone. Yeah. So, taking our online training, like, you can go to our website, you can click endoverdose.net, you can take a training, and we'll ship it to your house. It's that easy. Yeah. We'll send you free strips and free naloxone.
This might sound like a stupid question, but can you get addicted to naloxone?
Hell no.
No. Oh, okay. I was just curious.
No. Yeah. See, that was a good question. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, it's a chemical. You can imagine that if we can get addicted to caffeine, I could imagine getting addicted to naloxone.
If someone is not unconscious and then they were to like take it, is there any effects? No.
So no life-threatening side effects. That's something we always like to say as well. It's also really helpful to explain what it is. So it's it's an opioid antagonist. Essentially what it does is it's going to fit into the space where the opioid meets our receptors, and it's going to block that opioid from binding. So essentially, if you give it to someone and you're like, oh wait, that person was just drunk, nothing bad is going to happen.
Right.
So you don't really feel anything.
I remember that from one of your guys' videos. You can use it safely, and like, it won't affect, even if the person isn't on overdosing from an opioid, it'll be fine.
Yeah. They're not going to like get high from naloxone or anything like that. It's not an opioid.
Interesting.
Yeah. Darcy taught people chemistry, so like, this is her thing. Like, when you start getting into like, how does this work? Like,
that's something I forgot to mention. Yeah, I taught organic chemistry at UCLA for a time, like as a TA's assistant. But also why I'm passionate about this is I did research for a lot of years on opioid dependence, and I currently am a researcher now. I do clinical research for a telemedicine company based in London. We work with people with dependence on opioids, nicotine, and alcohol. So I run the randomized control trials. So I love chemistry. I love pharmacology.
So cool. Is that what your degree is in? Chemistry? Organic chemistry?
No, it's in psychobiology. So it's kind of like a interdisciplinary field of psychology and biology with a little bit of biochem sprinkled in. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Damn. What was your like reasoning for, or I guess for just pursuing that, or just like, OChem?
OChem. Well, okay, so I was like dreading OChem, like most people do in college.
You hear horror stories all the time.
And you know what? I took it and I was like, I love this. Like, it's literally just like drawing like hexagons, like making it all make sense to me. I was like, this is great. You know what? I don't know. I just really had an affinity for how drugs worked. My personal reason is that pretty early on, one of my best friends went through a manic episode and got diagnosed with bipolar. And I don't want to like get too personal. I'm not going to like name names or anything, but the, potency of the mix of the drugs they put her on pretty much affected her personality, and it wasn't like kind of really.
I have a friend like that too.
Really like she wasn't her anymore. So I was like, wow, like these drugs are so powerful. It's like not who I knew and grew up with. So that kind of is what made me really interested in drugs and substances. And then I started working for this lab at UCLA and really getting to know people with opioid dependence. Yeah. People like Theo, who got prescribed, and then that's how it happened. But also people that, are 5 to 10 year curious, experimental users, but also people that like have been injecting fentanyl for like years, and then trying to get them out of withdrawal and precipitated withdrawal. It's just like hell seeing people go through that. So it really like, I have a passion for the research and academic side, but also the grassroots side and people that accidentally got fentanyl in their cocaine. Like no one should die. Right.
Damn. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I have a friend who also got diagnosed with bipolar after he graduated college, and he got prescribed a bunch of medication, and it made his like mental state a lot worse. And only last year did he get a new doctor after going through like multiple psychiatrists. After going through multiple psychiatrists who all told him he needed to be on medication, finally got a psychiatrist that was like, you don't need to be on any of this. And as soon as he stopped taking all of it, like it's instantly better. He gained a ton of weight, and he just recently lost like 70 pounds and like is back to like his normal fit self. Awesome. But it's crazy. Like, I mean, you could get prescribed stuff like that, and it could affect you in a really severe way.
Totally. Yeah. It's different for everyone. Medication saves people, really helps people. Other people, the combination is not right. So, but I definitely, my personal story was that I saw it really affect someone that I loved and just really sparked my interest in all things pharmacology, all things substance and drug.
Damn.
Yeah.
We do have questions that people wanted to ask them.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Talking for so long.
How you guys doing?
The best.
Really good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Darcy's doing like a high level of data analytics right now, so like she has zero time. So
my brain.
She's crushing it.
Yeah. For my research job, I'm doing a lot of data analysis on medication adherence to Suboxone, which is a medication for opioid dependence.
Yeah.
So I'm like so zoned into the opioid topic.
Yeah.
Right
No,
now.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you're killing it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
You are too.
Nice.
This person, Devin
Oh, it's me.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, he asked, will you guys be at Heart Summer?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Very excited to be
Absolutely.
at it. Yeah, we will be there all 2 days. It's 2 days. It's 2 days. It's 2 days, but it's for the first time in LA, which is
I'm
super
so excited. Yeah.
Yes. So find our booth. We'll be doing naloxone trainings all day.
Hell yeah.
Will you guys have multiple booths or just one?
I think probably just one for that one. Yeah.
Probably.
Christian 95. I feel like Christian is always asking questions.
Right.
Christian.
We love you, Christian.
Shout out to you, Christian. Have any of you personally had any scary encounters? And if so, how'd you respond? And I guess to push that further, what's like the scariest encounter that you guys have had?
I mean,
Theo.
I don't even know how to describe it, man. Like, I've responded to hundreds of overdoses.
Yeah.
And for me, like as an emergency responder, it's not really scary. It's just, what am I going to do to save this person's life?
Yeah.
And it happens so frequently. I mean, I worked a 72-hour shift and then I got off, did some end overdose stuff. And on that space, a call that we run into all too often was for a 24-year-old male, found at home. His girlfriend was there. She had just seen him go to sleep. He had snorted a little bit of a Percocet pill and was overdosing. And she didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Fortunately, she had started CPR by direction of the phone call. And that guy was 24, right? And we worked him up. We got pulses back. But unfortunately, because he had gone without oxygen for so long, what ended up happening is that he had a noxic brain injury. So even though he got pulses back, he's going to be basically
brain
dependent. Brain dead for the rest of his life. And there's too many instances of those that are like beyond heartbreaking, right? And so regularly I'm confronted with these situations that are not only preventable, but if somebody knew what to do in the moment ahead of it, they could have had better outcomes. They could have had better saves of life. So it's usually a day-to-day thing for me.
Are there any specifically though that like the person was able to make a full recovery, but in the moment when it happened, it was like crazy?
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many, right? Like anytime you see somebody in that state, it's going to be insane, right? People are going to have their fight and flight response, right? Like if you've never witnessed somebody in a state where they're dying, they call it tunnel vision. You're going to be like, oh my God, like your focus is going to get on it. You're going to forget about things around you. Yeah. And knowing like steps, knowing what to do, like having that training really pulls you through. But, you know, for us, just kind of like in the medical field, it's like you just couldn't imagine. I don't know how to explain it. You just couldn't imagine the things that we see on a regular basis, right? So it's how deep do you want to go? Because it gets pretty dark. Right?
I imagine. I mean, I was in Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout, and
I'm a Gold Scout. Gold Award.
Really? Let's go. Air five.
That's awesome.
Scout too.
Hell yeah. You're not a Gold Scout though, are you? Wait,
Gold
Gold
Award.
No,
Gold Award. Sorry, I did not mean to.
We finished. We finished ours. I'm just kidding. We're like shaming you for not.
I was in cheerleading.
No, so, but yeah, they teach you like the basics of just like if someone is in a position like that, but I feel like they don't teach you enough. You know, the biggest thing that I remember is like always check your surroundings before you go into CPR. Make sure you obviously call for help, and then you administer CPR. We obviously learn how to do it when we're in Boy Scouts, but yeah, I feel like there's so much more that we could learn just on that entire process.
Yeah, I mean, there's always more. Like in paramedicine, they call it BSI, scene safety, body substance isolation. Put your gloves on, all that stuff. I mean, it's a never-ending thing. Like Darcy's being a, you know, you were going to be a doctor, right?
I might still be a doctor.
We can't lose you.
I'm
no more med school.
It's done. That dream is done.
Shit.
No, I'm just kidding. Maybe.
Yeah, she's going to be a doctor. But you know, the level of like your medical knowledge, the level of like what you can practice in an emergency is constant, right?
Yeah.
But just having the basics that you would learn as like a Boy Scout or from a CPR course or just our Naloxone training improves outcomes and saves lives. You don't need to be a paramedic to save someone's life.
Yeah.
People are saving lives every single day with simple information and a couple of steps.
That is super important, I think. Yeah.
The biggest thing you can do to save a life is make the choice to act. That's the biggest thing you can do. Once you make that decision, you set a cycle in motion, you save people.
100%.
Hell yeah.
Essentially beating the bystander effect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Daniel Dazan asks, how can we get more than one Narcan?
We'll just give it to you. Just email us.
Yeah, but that's it. Sorry. No, you're good. That's a really good point. There are people that like run small events, or they even do vending at events. I've had a lot of vendors just like contact our admin email and be like, hey, I'd love to have Naloxone on me to just give people. We'll give you, like, just swing by the headquarters, like swing by the office. We'll give
you guys are pretty close. Pasadena's not that far.
Pasadena.
Yeah.
And I've heard this too. I don't know if this is accurate, so please, educate me and everyone else. Do we need to utilize more than one Narcan or Naloxone? I've heard that like one sometimes is not enough, or generally speaking, one is not enough.
It depends on how much they took and how far along they are into that, right?
How can you tell?
Basically by certain signs, right? Like deprivation of oxygen. Usually someone's skin turns blue, right? That's a sign that you have cyanosis, which is there's, no oxygenated blood in your bloodstream. It's usually a later sign. So if you see someone blue, they've been down for some time, right? So there are different levels of that progression, but ultimately for the everyday person, you're not going to know. You're not going to be able to be like, that's 30 minutes, that's an hour, right?
Yeah.
So you want to have a second dose in case you need it. We give out a medication called Cloxato in some cases that's 8 milligrams. So it's very strong and it's effective for, people that have overdosed on fentanyl, right? Because what you're seeing is you may need that second follow-up dose. Everything is naloxone. That's the active ingredient in all these medications. Everything else is just a brand name and then a different dosage. Like Narcan is just a brand name.
Is that a single dose though?
Yeah, it's a single dose. So like everything will come in like a single dose type vial, but it's really
years old.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So it'd be like every time, like instead of saying like soda, you said Coca-Cola every time to refer to all
so
sodas.
it's the brand name.
But then there's other brands that have multiple doses.
Yeah, there's tons of different brands, right? So like Narcan, just like they patent it, everyone knows the name. It's the most familiar, but like.
But at the end of the day, Naloxone is
that's the main one, right?
The life-saving chemical.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like as harm reductionists, we'll say Naloxone because we, at the end of the day, that's the active ingredient.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Damn.
I have a question from one of the people who have reached out to us. Sussiness with 3 S's.
I love that name.
How do you guys engage in healthcare professionals, or how do you engage with healthcare professionals and law enforcement agencies in addressing OD crisis?
That's a good one. Because there are cops there and like...
Particularly at festivals that we're at, we'll have a ton of policemen, EMT, emergency response people come up and be like, hey, can I have some? Because I might need it on me. I've in my personal experience, everyone wants to carry it on them. But and sometimes it'll be like, it's funny because as me, I still give everyone the training. Doesn't matter if they're EMT, doesn't matter if they're fire. I like still go through it and they're like, yeah, I do this every day. But we're still really thorough and make sure that everyone knows, our training and the steps. So that's my experience with it. I don't know if Theo's had a different one.
Yeah, no, I mean, law enforcement, it's crazy how many times like police officers will come up to us and be like, oh my God, like I don't have this. And like, it's kind of like crazy.
It's a little, yeah,
it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, like resources are limited, things are hard to get, right? Yeah. So like when we partner with like local communities, part of that is making sure that each layer is trained on how to respond. Because again, we need everyone working on this together.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sometimes is it hard for people to come up to you because they know that law enforcement is around, because they feel like they're scared and they committed a crime?
Not too much.
I think that I think that ever since, you know, Pasquale has been so vocal, and Insomniac especially, like, again, yes! They really like allowed us to be and take up this much space. Like, again, like so grateful for them for kind of leading the charge in big festivals that allowed us there. But ever since like Pasquale posted about it, like everyone's like, yeah, hell yeah, like this is something we've needed.
Yeah.
So really it's kind of like been a snowball effect. And we've partnered with a lot of different amazing event organizers and brands. So I'd say in my experience, I've never had anyone super afraid since it's been
I wonder why
common.
It took so long though. I'm just like, it's just like a question, but like, why now?
My theory, if I may throw this in, it goes back to D.A.R.E. It goes back to D.A.R.E. Once upon a time, D.A.R.E. was, you know, the organization that said abstinence, abstinence, abstinence. I remember being in my health class in 8th grade, and they had a D.A.R.E. person come in, and they, you know, they did the whole, like, if you even so much as think about doing drugs,
don't do it. Yeah.
Well, no, you'll be arrested. It's not don't do it. It's you'll be arrested.
I just feel like it's been ingrained in our heads that we'd always get in trouble.
Yeah.
It's true.
The only thing I remember from D.A.R.E. is them putting the cups on the fences and spelling out D.A.R.E. If you guys remember that.
No.
They didn't do that.
I went to a private school.
Oh, okay.
So I don't
Never mind. That just sounds crazy.
Private school? No, I did it at mine. Holy shit.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Where they put like the cups in the little, you know, the fences that, like the wired fences that.
Actually, no.
Okay. All right.
Well. They give us t-shirts. I got t-shirts.
Yeah. I mean, in any case, I feel like that could be a good reason or a potential reason why, you know, a lot of people are scared because it's been ingrained and nobody taught them the good Samaritan. No one taught them the Good Samaritan law.
Yeah.
So, and then with Pasquale doing what he did by opening up, because the voice has always been there based on what you guys have been saying, and I believe the voice has always been there. It's just no one was listening and no one gave them a microphone.
You needed that big push.
I think there was more going on than you might have realized in the background.
Yes.
Yeah. Something that I was going to say is someone that really pioneered this space was DanceSafe, and they've been around doing this since like the 90s, like testing drugs and really like strongly advocating for harm reduction in this space.
Yeah.
They really like set the like basis and the foundation 100%. For us for sure. But also there was like things like the Rave Act. Literally it was against the law for people to do drugs in establishments, and a lot of event organizers were so scared to even have a rave. No, they couldn't control.
But that's why
anyway,
moved.
That's just like the history of it. But everything you guys said, like,
Can you explain what the Rave Act is? I have not heard of that.
The Rave Act, so I don't want to like speak too much on it, but essentially it was a law put into place, I believe federally, that said that any like event organizer that was throwing a rave was literally illegal because raves were associated with using drugs.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
I know that Pasquale had a lot of problems with it. Disco Donnie, if you guys know. And it made it really scary for organizers to like have raves. And then like warehouse culture came in and which was also illegal, but people were just really scared because there was this really demonizing association with drugs and raving, 100%. Drugs and raving. And we still hear it today. Like you said, oh, you rave? Oh, you do drugs.
Yeah.
So
immediately. That's what it comes to mind.
Yeah. But it's like, if that happened to raving and to like warehouse, you know, stuff, then eventually like nightlife is just like, people are going to do it, you know, like they're
the big thing with the Rave Act is like the promotion, right? So like if you were like encouraging drug use, I think is the exact language, right?
I guess it makes sense.
So like if you're throwing a music event that's encouraging the use, that you're going to have a bunch of problems coming towards you. And so like one of the problems was, if we have this thing here, is that encouraging people to use, right? And so no one's encouraging anyone to do anything, right? People are coming and using of their own volition. We just want to have more safety measures. And some things that happened recently is Narcan was in approval to become an over-the-counter medicine. So that is a huge step, right? Because, you know, the language in that is a lot different, right? Like everyone can agree that like, hey, if you're trying to prevent death from happening, okay, that's fantastic, right? There's no promotion of use in that, right? So for us, we really focused on how can we train people to respond to emergencies so they can save lives, right? And in that sphere, you know, it's really protected. so you don't run into that problem.
I'm curious, like, are there any struggles of being a nonprofit? Like, how are you guys funded and like all that stuff?
that should speak volumes already.
I feel like that was a question we've all been waiting to ask.
I've just always been curious.
Nonprofits are hard.
Yeah, because when I was in college for my senior project, we worked on a nonprofit, and yeah, I was just curious.
No, that's an amazing question because yes,
yeah,
fundraising, right, is we have to fundraise for what we do. We have no financial investors.
Yeah.
So all of our Naloxone that we give out is literally from personal donations and our fundraising efforts.
Yeah. Send us the link. We'll put it in our description.
If it's a nonprofit, you're not even allowed to get investors, correct? Or is that not?
Yeah, no. So like, it's not like a business. You don't have a bunch of seed funding going on, right? Like everything is grassroots. You don't have like people coming up and being like, here's $1 million, right?
Not even angel investors, like nothing.
We haven't had one of those. I mean, like for us, the big thing that's really supported us are small donations from our community. Like $5, $10 donations are really what powers the whole thing. People look at us and they're like, it's not like that. Like we put in a lot of time and effort. Like Darcy runs logistics on our fundraising constantly, which is really, really challenging.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
it's funny being in this position because I've never been someone that's like had to ask. It's just like asking for money is not comfortable.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like I am so passionate about the mission and we cannot operate without fundraising. But it's like we send out like email blasts and there's like always, it's like I feel like we're always asking for donations and it's literally because we are giving out Naloxone for free. Right now I think over the counter just one dose of Kloxxado, which we give you guys at festivals, goes for about $70. So we gave out 10,000 at EDC. Each one costs about 70. So that's all through personal donations and fundraising. And also we have big pharma donates.
Yeah, so we get some fund, like, so a huge portion of like the ways that we get like that Naloxone is some of what we pay for out of pocket, and it's incredibly expensive, right? Like buying Narcan, buying Kloxxado like is incredibly expensive. 1,000 doses if we bought for Narcan would be $45,000, right?
Holy
and we
shit.
give out about 5,000 doses a month. Right.
Yeah.
And so
we get about $1 million.
So we get about 2,000 doses from the state every month. So for state of California. Yeah. And then we get them for their medication grant. So one company that's been really helpful to us is actually another nonprofit called Direct Relief. They actually do medication donations for every type of medication throughout the country. And they'll donate a few thousand doses, which is very, very important to us. Last year, through Hikma is an amazing company. They actually make the generic brand of Naloxone that you use with a needle and a vial, and they support nonprofits like the Remedy Alliance, which is where a ton of harm reduction organizations get low cost Naloxone in a vial, which we also benefit from. A huge amount of Naloxone that we give out is actually the vial with a needle, right? It's much less expensive. It's about $1.50 as opposed to like $45, right? However, we've also gotten medication grants that upwards. Last year we got $1.2 million worth of medications donated to us. Wow. And
that's awesome.
Without that, we wouldn't have been able to do the work that we do. And what we were able to do with that cost savings is we were able to open up new programs where we went out to like local public schools. We brought it to underfunded communities. We were able to get like bilingual services. We made an entire training that's in Spanish. So like you can take modules and
that's amazing.
So it's a lot of effort on our part. Like we spend a lot of time just looking for creative ways that we can work with people to keep our mission going.
Yeah. And just spread the word, honestly. I feel like at that point, it's just
spread
like,
word.
I feel like it's education and making it. I say this about the American educational system all the time. There's a lot of things that are missing. I'm not going to like attack what's there, but I am going to say there's a lot of things that are just not taught. And this is one of those big things that's just not in the educational system. Because imagine if every child was taught this, we'd be in a lot safer place.
Yeah, but I mean, again, we're super grateful to the people that have like helped us. Direct Relief, Hikma, and their medicine, Kloxxado, like all those things have allowed us to conduct outreach in places that we would have never dreamed of. So
Totally.
If you're listening to this and you want to donate, start a fundraiser.
We'll definitely put the link.
Yeah, link will be in the description.
Please donate.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah, I feel like it would be really cool to like one day see this stuff being taught in health class.
Mm-hmm. It should be.
Should be.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a focus. We do naloxone trainings in schools. Big shout out to Gianna, who does a lot of our school trainings, and AJ on our team does a lot of like staff and industry trainings.
Yeah.
So, and then again, we would not be able to do what we do without our college chapters, doing these trainings all throughout the country. So we're definitely focused on schools, and that would be our goal to really get this into all schools, like you were talking about.
That's like the root. That's like where it starts. You know. So I think it's important to teach kids early, like the right thing.
Teach them,
Teach them.
Yeah, while they're developing.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
My mind's kind of buffering right now.
Yeah, I'm just like processing all the information. Like I feel like this has been one of those episodes where it's just like highly educational and like questions I had are being answered and thoughts that we're moving in the right direction. I feel like.
Yeah,
I feel like we're all moving kind of in the right direction, and I feel like it's a thing that gives everyone a good sense of purpose of like, you know what, we're just trying to keep everyone alive here.
Yeah. Oh, I remembered. So sorry. I had a question for you guys. How has like your involvement in End Overdose impacted the way that you guys socially I guess do things, or like if you guys, I don't know if you guys party at all, but like what are like the precautions or steps obviously that you guys take, or like, I mean, you don't have to answer, but do you guys partake in any stuff? Well, maybe that's not a good question.
Yeah, that's not a good question.
But like, just how has it impacted your guys' like social life?
I'm friends with a lot of people that decide to use drugs, and kind of my perspective on that is personal choice. Because I work for End Overdose, it's actually been really cool. Recently, it's not how I measure my success, but it's been really cool. At EDC, I had a breakthrough moment where like people started coming up to me and being like, "Are you Darcy from End Overdose?" And I'm like, wait, I'm not even really on the social media, but people were like really recognizing me through my outreach, and I post on my socials all the time about it. So it was just so cool that I was like, damn, I'm recognized for my work personally in this field. Yeah. And what I mean, like how that connects is people are like, "Oh my God, you're Darcy." Like I'll get random DMs and they're like, "Hey, I'm like kind of, afraid to ask anyone else, like, do you have test strips? Can I grab some from you from your hotel or something?" And I like will be like, I'm never associated myself with a rave mom, but I'm like the harm reduction like woman of
harm reduction queen.
Yeah, harm reduction queen. And like all my friends will come to my like hotel room or whatever before a festival, and I'll just do like Narcan trainings for my friends.
You're
and
the superhero.
So that's how I would say it's affected my social life. I've definitely like fell into this role and worked into this role to represent something that I care so deeply about, and I can like teach friends, strangers, people at festivals, and that's how it's affected my social life for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, like I've been sober for like 12 years. So
congrats.
Like I actually got introduced to like rave culture and everything through sobriety. And so for me, like ever since I started End Overdose, like I've always had people reach out to me and like asking for test strips, asking for naloxone, and just kind of being like that, kind of like that person that like you could rely on. So like if you, just like Darcy's saying, right? Like you're going out and you're like, "Ah, shit," right? Like this is happening, can you help me out? Like, absolutely.
Yeah. It's like what you said earlier about you said you don't have a rave dad, but you guys kind of like are the rave dad.
They're the community. They're the superheroes.
I've definitely like come into that role at EDC. I mean, I know earlier one of your questions was like a scary moment, and like one of the scarier moments I had was anytime someone was on the ground at EDC and I was with a group, everyone was like, oh, Darcy, like, which is cool because I'm confident I'm down. It's what I do for work now. Like I'm so comfortable teaching other people, and I would be the person to always, you know, identify what's going on, call the medics. But there definitely was a scary situation at EDC. Luckily it wasn't someone overdosing, but I did get projectile vomited on, which was so fun and
I would imagine.
But I was like, you know what, it was not that bad. And so, like, I helped her out, got her into a wheelchair from a medic, and it was all good. So it's good to be the rave mom, the harm reduction queen, whatever people want to call me. It feels good.
Yeah, not good to get projectile vomited on, but good that you
have that reputation.
Or that you were there to provide that help.
Oh, what an experience it was.
I hope you were able to clean yourself up right after.
Yeah, luckily we had like our staff camp on site.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Perfect. Okay. Only a 25-minute walk with bile on me, but it's fine. I'm just being dramatic. It was fine. It was fine.
You should have got a go-kart.
I know, should have, right? Yeah. Sorry, no go-karts. Maybe
they're like driving the go-kart, they're like,
it's like
no, but it would be so cool if you guys have like a go-kart on the festival grounds. Just be like, you get a Naloxone and you get it. Just throw it out and they're like, okay.
Cannons of Naloxone at the stages. Just
someone suggested that, like the t-shirt cannon that just blasts them out.
Yeah.
I don't know how those work, but
instead of an art car playing music, you just got all of End Overdose on top.
Yeah, for real.
It's just designed like a giant Naloxone spray.
That's some great marketing.
Thanks. Hire me for marketing.
The End Overdose Music Festival. Come plan it with me. It'll be Narcan themed.
That would be so sick. I think we should make it happen, honestly.
We could collab on it.
Let's do it.
If you made it this far, thank you for being here. And this is going to be the Naloxone training that you need to know and everybody needs to know. So also share this to other people. And
save a life.
And we're going to cut to it right now.
Perfect. So thank you all for taking the time out of your day to like listen to this training. Thank you for the whole team coming through. Today, we're going to be going over in a section by section, step-by-step fashion on how to identify and respond to overdose. And Darcy's going to take us through the first 3 steps, and I'm going to take you through the next 3.
Totally, yeah. So say you're at a festival and you see someone unconscious or on the ground, the first thing you got to do is recognize the signs and symptoms. The first would be pinpoint pupils. A really good way to, check what that looks like is, take your flashlight over somebody, open up their eye, and go away and towards their eyeball. If it stays as a tiny pinpoint, their pupil doesn't dilate and it's like literally looks like a period at the end of a sentence, highly likely they're having an opioid overdose. This is also called meiosis. The second one would be respiratory depression. A normal healthy person would be breathing at about 12 to 20 breaths per minute. Someone undergoing an overdose would probably be breathing under 10. This also could look like noisy breathing or like pretty labored breathing. You might want to like put your ear on their chest and try to like see their breathing rate. And the last one would be, or this is the opioid overdose triad, by the way. We like to kind of go by these 3 main ones, would be loss of consciousness. So they could be nodding off, like kind of in and out of consciousness or just fully out. And you definitely want to make sure that you try to kind of check for responsiveness. Try to wake them up, yell their name. You want to do some painful stimuli. If they were just drunk, they would probably wake up to this. So you want to make a fist and do a sternal rub like this on their chest.
Respectfully. Got that from you guys.
Yes, and or do the trapezius pinch, would be pinch on their trapezius muscle. If they're not responding to that, highly likely that they're having an opioid overdose and it's a serious medical emergency. Then you want to really make sure to call 911 and get medics on their way. Naloxone is an amazing, amazing medication, but it is a temporary solution. They need to get to a hospital. They could re-overdose in about 30 minutes time if they get the Naloxone and then don't go to a hospital. So you really need to make sure medics are on the way.
Perfect. And then right after that, one of the things that we want you to reassess is basically check for a pulse, right? So there are a couple of different ways that you can do that. The first one is by checking for your radial pulse. The second one is going to be your carotid. So if you all go ahead and touch your little thing right there, yeah, you can feel it. Guarantee you have one at home. And you're basically going to locate it right onto a person. The reason why you want to do that is because if somebody doesn't have a pulse, you want to go into hands-only CPR right away. Mm-hmm. However, most cases in overdose, the person has a respiratory problem. They'll still have a pulse. They just won't be breathing well, and they won't be able to sustain life with that type of breathing. So what we want you to then do is we want you to administer the naloxone. So this is the naloxone that we have. It's a nasal atomizer, which means when you push down on the plunger, medication comes out in a mist, and it gets taken to the mucous membranes in the nose and then into your bloodstream. So the person doesn't have to be breathing for it to work. Really simple to use. You'll take the medication out, you'll place it into somebody's nostril, and then you'll push down on the plunger. Do one of you all want to give it a try? There it is.
Don't be afraid. Wait.
The lanyard. It was the lanyard that got it. Don't worry. You just rip that off.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, none of that,
Yeah.
right? We can't have that. But this medicine should work in about 3 to 5 minutes. While you're waiting for it to take effect, what we want you to do is we want you to do something called rescue breathing. So we want you to form a seal around the lips, right? That's just like going mouth to mouth and giving one breath every 5 seconds, right? If that's the only thing that you did and you didn't have this medication, you would save that person's life because it's an oxygen deficiency problem, right? When you're breathing for someone, you don't need to inflate them like a balloon. All you do is just see enough for their chest to rise, and that's the perfect amount of air, right? In 5 minutes, if you don't notice any change or this person regaining consciousness or any response to the medication, you can administer a second dose, right? Some things that you'll notice right away, if the medicine is working, you'll notice a color change. The person will kind of go from like a pale or a blue to like pink flushed skin. They may start breathing on their own again. They may wake up and say, hey, thanks. But most of the time what happens is person will feel really sick. So if that's the case, if someone starts vomiting, what we want you to do is we want you to turn them onto their side like this. And that way they don't choke on their own vomit. We hate that. So real simple, those were 6 steps on how to respond to an opioid overdose. You can go online, you can take our training at endoverdose.net. Training's a little bit longer and we provide a certification there, and we'll send a naloxone kit to your house. We only ask that you cover shipping. You can even tack on fentanyl test strips for free. We're really grateful to be here and with all of you guys. Deal. So thanks for
thank you guys so much. Yeah, but no, but seriously, guys, like this is like it's a really big thing. So if you can, like, please go and take the course. And at your next event, go and stop by the booth. It's really important that all of us get the resources we need to help.
And we are a community, so we're there to look out for each other. Plur.
All right, back to the episode. And we're back.
Welcome back.
Thank you for watching that. If you did.
The concept of editing and like film sometimes is just so silly.
My brain works in very different ways because of that.
I like
editing
it.
life. But yeah, if you stuck around and watched that, thank you so much. Please, if you can, share it with a friend, share it with anyone that doesn't know about how to properly distribute and use naloxone. It's very important that we all try and stay as educated as possible.
I also think it's really important that just because you're trained doesn't mean the rest of your Rave fam is trained. So like I feel like if everybody in your Rave fam was trained, it just kind of it's a math. It's just math. It multiplies the chances of everybody being able to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Random question. I guess you guys kind of already answered it though. I mean, we always ask if our guests are like ravers themselves, and so I know you were saying that you got introduced to rave culture through being sober and stuff. But do you guys ever go to raves just
'cause,
not
have
like
fun.
through End Overdose, but just to go
Enjoy the music.
Oh, totally. Oh my gosh. I was like the biggest raver. I would try to go to everything. And then I started to get to go for work, and I'm like, now I'm going to everything.
Yeah.
Which I love. It's
That's how
not
we
taken
feel.
any of the magic away at
Love
all. Yeah, I like fell in love with raving. It was kind of weird. My first like music festival was Coachella, so I like kind of but I was very much a raver at Coachella. I was like, find me in the Yuma, like I'm not leaving type of person.
Like keep me at Do-Lab at all times.
Yeah, exactly. Like Do-Lab and Yuma is where I'll be at. I like just love nocturnal Wonderland. That's one of my favorites. I love camping festivals. Yeah, I love breathe raving for sure.
I love that.
Same.
Yeah, I used to more. Like one of my favorite artists is let me like pull this closer, is like Virtual Riot. So like
That's
and
our
so
boy.
like there was like, you know, I kind of like before we started End Overdose. I was kind of more into that scene. I like love DIY shows. I love like underground stuff of like just like some scuzzy like random place like in the middle of LA.
In a sewer.
Like I want to go there. And so by the time we had started End Overdose, I just kind of like fallen into different genres and fallen into different stuff. Also, my work is like a firefighter. Like, I mean, I'll be up for like 3 days and then we'll go shoot a video and you'll see me in some of these videos and I'll be like,
no, I have no idea how he does it. Like he'll call me to check in. He's like, are you free to check in? I'm like, yeah, sure. What's up? And I'm like hearing sirens in the back and he's like, yeah, it's cool. Like I'm just on a shift. And I'm like, how are you awake? How are you focused? Like it's crazy.
So I don't get out as much as I used to. Yeah, definitely a part of it.
I love that. Virtual Riot, that guy's brain works. It's on another level. We've gotten like a couple of chances. We have friends that are connected with him, so we've been able to hang out with him a few times, and just the way that
he speaks about music,
the way that man's brain works when he's talking about music or like anything related is crazy.
I can safely say that there's nothing else that better that he could do than music, because the way his brain, oh my god, I've watched his like work a little bit. I'm like,
have you ever seen the 4 Producers 1 Sample video from like Andrew Huang on YouTube? I highly recommend watching it. It's there's this YouTuber, his name's Andrew Huang, and he works in music, and one of his first episodes he did of this series where he just got 4 artists including himself to use a piano sample, and they all made a song from it, and Val Virtual Riot was one of them. And insane, he literally turned the piano key sounds into like percussion and like just these weird like granulated sounds, and listening to him explain it on camera is just like someone speaking Chinese like on like on a video. I couldn't understand any of it, but it just sounds like super cool. I love that. And I highly recommend.
Wait, what are all of your favorite artists? I'm so like curious.
I'm a bass head, but I'm also a huge sad girl. So like Seven Lions, Millennium, Trifecta, Crystal Skies.
Oh, is your favorite artist Said the Sky?
No.
Really?
I didn't absolutely cry my eyes out at EDC while the fireworks went off and rain started to come down.
During his set?
I didn't message him at all and say like, yo, I know your name is Said the Sky and all, but the rain was a bit much and he laughed at my joke. I didn't do that at all.
Who's your favorite artist?
I'm definitely more of like a techno and house person. I love like I Hate Models was my favorite set at EDC. It's like ripping hard techno. It was insane. And I love like Disclosure. It's just happy.
Wait, so if you're a big techno and house head, would you say that because we talk about this a lot in previous episodes, would you say the EDM space is kind of going in that direction right now? Because like every other artist, quote unquote popular artist, is doing a techno song here, a techno moment there,
or drum and bass.
Drum and bass is, I love drum and bass. It's having a comeback.
Dimension.
It's coming. Oh my god, Dimension was my favorite set at EDC 2021.
Yes,
so good. But that's a really good question. I think it's like kind of where the money's at, to be honest, and I think that's why. But
I mean, John Summit is taking over.
I think Moon Boy's taking over. I'm a big Moon Boy fan.
Wait, who's your favorite artist now?
Moon
besides
Boy.
Besides Moon Boy.
That's it. That's all I know.
That's it.
I'm in Moon Boy.
The one and only.
There's like an inside joke going here that like you were like.
No, Moon Boy's on the rise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He makes great music. He has great sample packs.
Sick.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Mine is Zed. I've like literally since I started listening to EDM, or maybe a little after, because I got introduced through like Skrillex and Deadmau5, obviously, like back in high school. But Zed, ever since I heard Zed, he's always been my favorite, and I love how he blends like pop with EDM, and and I think he's a great guy, and I think he's done a lot with his career. I look up to him a lot.
He's extremely humble.
And he's extremely humble.
Extremely
humble.
Well,
we did a video on him like maybe a couple of years ago, and he invited us like out to a show, and then ever since then, I'm fortunate enough to be able to chat with him. Yeah, and he's always so humble every time I talk to him.
So,
Well, before the outro, is there anything that you guys want to share with the audience?
Like upcoming, what you guys have going on and stuff. Just an opportunity,
or even just any more information that you guys want to like spit out.
Can we like share that stuff? I feel like we have to keep some of it a secret.
Some of it.
Some of it, definitely.
But
the stuff that's on the books, not a, yeah.
When does this air?
25th.
Wait, were we not supposed to say hard summer?
No.
I mean,
it's gonna.
I think we can say
I think it'll be announced by then because this is coming like July 25th.
June,
cool, that's
no,
fine.
June 25th.
Oh, June.
Then I won't. Yeah, then I'm not gonna.
Hard summer is probably fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's no surprise. Like since you guys are now connected with Insomniac,
yeah, people are used to it.
I think I always assume there's an End Overdose. Like honestly, half the time we have our meetups at the End Overdose.
I love that.
Booth.
Oh, if you guys want to collab, like do a meetup, I'd be so down.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll
I
chat
would
with
love.
you guys. I'll text you. But yeah, we have some really exciting partnerships and new things developing, which we can't just say just yet, but like super big things on the horizon.
That's
I'm excited for you guys.
We're just so stoked. But right now, like we'll be again on every Millennium tour stop in the US right now. Tons of local events all the time. We're always looking for people to like join our team and volunteer. And then like the main thing we always want to bring it back to is like the training. Like if you're not certified, go take our online training. It takes like 20 minutes and it's free, and we'll ship Naloxone right to you. You never know when you could save a life, for real.
Yes.
Go ahead and just leave in the comments below if you went and got training. Just let us know. It'd be cool to see if everyone is actually getting training. And then let's be honest, y'all know that commenting is going to push this video so that more people can then go get training.
And we'll also have them at our next event that we throw, which I know we are in talks with one right now. And
we are.
And we had you guys on our last event too, which was a big success as well.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember back in February.
Yeah.
Sick. Always down to collab. Like love that. Any event organizer or people that wanna, or even like a clothing brand, anything, just we're always down to just make, our voices heard, carry the message. And thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
It's such a treat.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode.
Wait, let's have her do the outro.
Oh, wait, actually real quick. Micah's song, I want to mention real quick. On the next episode, we will be having Micah Martin on the podcast, and
he's a
Micah,
vocalist.
Yeah, he's a vocalist. He's done vocals for a lot of songs from Zomboy.
Keizo.
Yeah, but Micah just had a friend unfortunately pass away from an OD, and so Micah actually is making a song right now that might not be released at the time that this is released, but if you see a link in the description for it, he's donating all the proceeds to the kids of this friend who OD'd. Yeah, and so. If you see that, please go check it out and stream it, and
leave it on repeat.
Leave it on repeat. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys will see. You guys will like Micah in the next episode. Man's got some crazy stories. But
yeah. Patrons.
Oh yes.
Thank you to our Patreons.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
All your
We
names
love
will
you.
be
here, like a movie screen.
Coming down. Not a movie screen.
Do one for the one time.
No.
I'll give you $20.
I'm just gonna put their names on screen. You know how much longer that takes me to do?
I'll pay you for half an hour.
No.
Okay.
It already takes me like 4 hours to edit each episode. Anyways,
thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. If you haven't gotten a chance to go check out the Patreon already, please do. We'll have another bonus episode out very soon. But other than that, I'm Devin.
I'm Mickie.
I'm Nand.
I'm Brin.
Darcy.
Theo.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Do it, guys.
Bye.
Bye.